Good morning. Well, my world's spinning. How about yours? And it seems like just as it stops spinning, it starts spinning the other way until you just want to fall down. This morning, I'm reminded of a man named Johnny. He was a good friend of our family. We tried to be a good friend of his. And he wanted to teach us something. Wanted to teach me something. I hope I learned it. Every time we saw him, he would give us the same information, same speech. I thought for a while that it might be his world's mission, his not world mission, but life, personal life mission to teach people about this one thing. Maybe it was. I don't know. But I do know that he's gone now. And he was an older man. Didn't know how long we might have with him, so we tried to make the most of every moment. He lived at a great distance. So we would see him whenever we could. And we would plan trips actually to the town that he lived in so that we could see him. We loved him. And I was just thinking about him while doing an activity just now. And his words were coming back to me, and the flow of what he was teaching. Not so much specific words, but just the general idea that he was teaching and the concept of it. Very valuable information. I wish I could share it with you. I don't think it's time yet. Some things you teach publicly and some things you teach one-on-one. And I think our Heavenly Father has us to teach more one-on-one than he does in public and in stadiums and things like that. I've been to lots of stadium teachings and large groups. And I've gained a lot from those sort of things, but there's a thing called discipleship. And I ran across this word a long time ago. And began to understand the concept, and it's a word that has become popular now. Very popular word. But people don't seem to know what it means, and I blame that mostly. I'm not into blame, but I would say I would attribute that mostly to the fact that words get defined in crazy ways. Very crazy ways. And so when I feel like I'm not understanding someone or they're not understanding me, I find it's very useful to say, no, wait a minute, time out. I tell you what, let's pull out our dictionaries and see how we're defining words, because a lot of times I find I agree with someone, or they agree with me, or we're on the same page. We seem to think a lot alike, but we use different words and we use them differently. And so we wind up there seems to be a discrepancy or an argument there that there isn't. Um, and a lot of people that think they agree really are very different minds. And who knows how they get together. I mean, we could conjecture on that all day, but discipleship. This thing of going one-on-one, this thing of being taught with passion and purity and intention. And there are a lot of groups that use that word very unfortunately, and we cannot let the word become polluted, and we cannot let it become watered down. In the society we're in, a lot of things get watered down. And it's more than a shame, it's very damaging. I often think about words that had extreme meanings, and they still do, but they get misused and they get watered down and they don't carry the impact they once had. And the word discipleship and the concept of discipleship can be used in a lot of different ways. So don't let words scare you off. And don't let people scare you off when you know that you should be together. Teaching them teaching you. Just doing life together sometimes. Be willing for relationships to be two-way streets. A lot of times we define relationships poorly. We define them according to our limited understanding instead of having an open mind to where the relationship in the Father's hand is supposed to go. And that can be very unfortunate and lead to a lot of misunderstandings. So we have to seek Him, and that's the most important thing in discipleship, is that godly discipleship always brings us closer to the Father. It may not feel like it at moments. It may have its twists and its turns and its ups and its downs. And sometimes, though, we realize that He's keeping us on a straight and level path, and it's the world twisting and turning around us, and it's the world going up and down, and like the waves of a sea. And to the world, we look like we're being thrown every which direction, but we know we have peace because He's holding us in a safe place. Yeah. So these are just some thoughts to get you started this morning, or afternoon or evening. A lot of my videos, I start with good morning, no matter what time of day it is, because I don't know what time of day it will be when you watch this video. But it's not a reference to the time of day necessarily. It's a concept of a new beginning, a new thought, or a new way to look at a familiar thought, or whatever it may be for you. It could be something that I'm waking up to and sharing with you, and I say, good morning. Good morning, I woke up. Not in the current understanding of being woke. whatever that is. And the thing is, we all have different definitions. Like I was saying, we have different definitions for the same words. It's no wonder we have so much confusion in the world when we take the same words and we define them differently. Conversations become very muddled. You know, that's one good takeaway from this talk today. When you're talking with people, make sure that you're not prejudiced about the words. Have some sort of concept and assume that you think you know what they mean when they use this word or that word, or you know, and slogans get thrown around out there. I won't bring up the ones that are currently popular now, but yes, you know, a lot of people get behind the same cause, not knowing what that cause is, not knowing what it's for, not knowing even why they're there, or a lot of things. So, you know, I heard it said long ago, an unexamined life is not worth living. That's an extreme statement. If you take it carefully, it's true. And if you take it to extremes, and you know, you could definitely take that some bad places. So don't do that. But you do. But the idea is true. You have to examine life. You have to let the Father, Heavenly Father, show you all things. Don't go by your own understanding alone. Do try to have understanding, though, and do seek Him. As much as, you know, discipleship is great, the goal of discipleship is relationships, first with Him and with each other, and to get through this life thriving instead of just surviving, and for us to share with one another our knowledge, whatever insight we might have, whatever is going on in our hearts, to love one another, to support one another. Make sure that it's always in connection with the Father, the true Father in heaven, not some perverted idea of what Father is, and patriarchy and all these things. You know, a lot of good, godly, solid things have been hijacked, have been misused, and a lot of people have been hurt, and they run from those things because they weren't good things. The terminology they used talked about good things. I mean, like patriarchy. That's one of the ugliest words, but the heart of patriarchy and where that comes from is a very good, and it's a very beautiful, and it's a very solid thing. But the way people have misused that makes so many people want to run from any hint of it. But I don't think people tend to run as much from the real thing. And there are many such things I could mention, but we just have to be really careful. Be really careful. Be blessed, people.